I just before starting, I'm going to say like a few just admin disclaimer things just to share is that this is my personal journey as a healer, as an individual that decided to go deep within me. Is the information and knowledge that I've been accumulating, I guess, in a way, since I started this journey about 6 years. But I feel like I've been doing it for a really long time. And this is to say that this is not that I'm in a better position than you or you're more evolved than you. This is just a matter of timing. Maybe I started before, you started later. It doesn't really matter. The matter here is that we are here with an open mind and ready to learn and be open to possibilities and just see what comes up. And so, energy work, inner wisdom is not something that is linked to religion, is nothing that is linked to dogma, and is not a belief system. This is basically universal knowledge, universal consciousness, information that has been around for centuries, really. And I feel like now most people is catching up. And so it's about time to clarify a few things. I feel like the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is awakening, it's almost like trending right now. It's almost like there's just so many people talking about it, the awakening, or I'm awakened, or how to be awakened in 5 stages, or something like that. It just sounds sometimes a bit silly in a way, because this is not something that it's you need to follow rules, or you have to follow step by steps. A lot of people want to follow step by steps, but the thing is that whatever worked for me is not going to work for Kim or for Wendy. Everyone has their own path. Okay, so now to open the circle, because I really want this to feel like a circle. I know that we are on Zoom, but if you think about 2000 years ago, the way women used to learn and share experiences, it was in a circle. It was gathering in nature, sitting around the fire, usually with the moon, with nature. And it will be different generation. It will be grandmas, great grandmas, mothers, young girls, babies even. And they would just be together, eating, laughing, cooking, all that stuff that is sort of lost. It's been lost now. Now, 2000 years later, we are able to gather, it's not a circle, it's a screen, but that doesn't matter. What it matters is the energy that you bring to the table and the contribution that you can be to this space. The same way that I'm giving you information, your energy and the idea that you are here, it's already contributing to all of us. Okay, so just to ground ourselves a little bit, I wanted to start with a little bit of a meditation and a belly breathing, just so we are grounded and you are ready to either start your day or finish your day, in a high frequency. So you can just remove your shoes. If you're wearing shoes, just try to put your feet on the floor and just be straight. And I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Just start breathing slowly. Inhale and exhale. And one more time. Inhale and exhale. Now I want you to place one hand on your heart and the other hand on your belly. It doesn't really matter which hand goes where. We're going to do a little bit of belly breathing, and this is to calm your nervous system so you can feel grounded and focused and you're ready to receive the information. So we're going to inhale to the count of 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to keep this pattern. I'm just going to be saying a few things. I just want you to imagine that we are all in the same place. We are all gathered around the fire in a circle. We have our eyes closed. We can hear nature. We can hear the forest. We can hear the insects and the animals. We feel and perceive our energies, even though we are far away, but we are right now energetically at the same place in a circle. And why a circle is so important? One is because it's the meaning of the women, a circle, consciousness. It's also because it means that everyone is equal. We can see each other. No one is more important than the other. And so we feel safe and loved and protected. We are comfortable sharing our own experiences. And the good thing about doing that is that when you share a little bit of yourself, you are the reflection of someone else in the same circle. Because everyone received a call to join this circle, to join this gathering, this workshop series. And you might not know right now, but maybe you have something in common. And that thread is the one that you decided to just pull and see what's that going to take you. Okay. Now, before we open our eyes, I'm going to introduce the energetic facilitation, which is something that I've been offering. I said that I was going to be, I wanted to make it part of this because it's something that changed my life in a great way. The way energy works is that we touch in the quantum field. All that particles and molecules that float around us, we cannot see with our naked eye, but it's around us. In where everything exists and nothing is judged, when everything is possibilities, when everything is light and potential. And so when you work with energy and you bypass your cognitive mind, your thinking mind, that's where possibilities lie ahead of you. Abundance, higher vibration. And that's exactly what we want to touch today and for the rest of our series. So through the workshop and starting today, I'm going to be sharing a few questions, and you don't have to have the answer for them. These are going to be the facilitation that I'm going to be doing. Let's breathe in deeply and exhale. And now we're opening our eyes. You can take your time, move your fingers and toes. And that was amazing. The song just stopped. Oh, wow. It was perfectly timed. Okay, so welcome everyone. I hope you feel really nice. It's so nice to hear nature, to reconnect with that essence that we are, especially as women. It's something that we sometimes forget because we just do things all the time. We're always doing, and we forget about being, just being who we truly are and touch our true in our true nature. Okay, so at the end of this little meditation, I spoke about energy. And so now that we have our eyes open, I wanted to start with that. Why facilitating energy to me was important to add it to this workshop? I was not going to add it, to be honest, at first, but it's just, I just got the message that it's just something that it needed to happen. And why? Because when you facilitate energy, you are using open questions, questions that you might not have an answer for them. But that's exactly what we want to do, because when you ask a question and you don't have the answer, you just bypass your thinking mind, because the mind is the one that always wants an explanation. You always want to know the reason. Tell me the reason, the sign behind. What is the reason? What is the answer for this? So when you ask a question, you bypass that, and then you add the clearing statement from access consciousness. And then it's almost like using like a wand or like a broom, and you just remove the charge, the energetic charge that is attached to that. So for this particular time that we're just starting the workshop, I wanted to clear the energy that you have about the expectation, limitations, any belief system that you have about awakening, the topic that we're going to talk about today, about your belief systems, about all the projections that you have about the way these things need to happen, the information that you need to hear to validate your point of views. So everything and anything that doesn't allow you to understand this, I destroy and create. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and poke, online show about poverty and beyonds. And what I do now is just use the clear statement from Access Consciousness, and I just clear the charge of the energy related to what I'm saying. So during this session, I'm going to, be talking about different things. If I feel that something's feeling heavy, when I perceive, or you might perceive heaviness, is because there's a charge to it. It's like when you have a conversation with someone. And if you feel suddenly heavy, it's because you are actually perceiving the energy, the charge in a conversation. Usually we don't even notice because our mind is always, thinking, and we always focus on something. So our body and our intuition is almost like it runs in the background. So if your mind is always doing things, you're not really going to be able to perceive, because energy is like a whisper. You have to be really present and really like conscious and aware to be able to perceive heaviness or lightness. A very easy way of doing this is that, for example, when you are talking to your friend and she suggests to do something that you love and you say yes, that's like yes, like full body yes, this is the energy that feels light, and you feel like you can even jump and start dancing because it's a full body yes. If you on the other side is like yeah, it sounds fun, that usually is like a contraction of your body. You just go yeah, maybe. Usually if your mind runs in front of everything else, you will say yes, I want to go, but inside you, your body's doing I don't want to go. So that's a very easy example of perceiving energy, that we don't really pay attention to that. We don't really realize that that's what we're doing, that's what it's happening. So yeah, so another clearing statement that I'm going to do now is that what energy, space, consciousness, and choice, magic, miracle, and possibilities can you and your body be in this session, in this workshop, and what contribution can you be to all of us, from me to you to everyone here, and anything and everything that doesn't allow you to be a contribution, I destroy and create, right, wrong, good and bad, pot and poke, on the show about poverty and beyonds. And when I use my hand, I'm just sort of playing with the energy to let it go and let it flow, and it just release the charge of that specific topic. In this particular session, I'm just using the energy to clear the charge for the session, but energetic facilitation, it can be used for anything really, for personal life, body image, work, money, business, anything. In this particular time, we're just working with the topic of awakening. So let's just start with that. So I want to start with me. I'm Vanessa. Quite a few of you know me from different times, from New York, from Australia. My life changed a lot in the last 3 years. I feel like I've been going through an awakening for a long time, but something in me or my mind, it was too strong. It was just too stubborn in a way to surrender to the process. The mind is insane. The mind is this part of us that tells you what to do, that tells you what's right and what's wrong, that tells you that this is the way your life needs to be. And if you're not going in this current, it's wrong, or it's strange, or it's not acceptable. Depending on your background or your family, you will feel more like, it's almost like something is grabbing you from behind and it tells you, no, I cannot do it because, there's expectations of me. There's my parents saying this. I always thought that I needed to do this or achieve this by this age or for this time of my life. So when something is not going according to the plan, that's where you start saying, what's happening to me? I'm not achieving what I meant to be doing. What is happening to me? Is there something wrong with me? You start questioning your reality. Usually when you start questioning your reality and you start following the herd mentality or what you always thought it was your way of being, which is what happened to me. My awakening was triggered by fertility issues. My husband and I had what most people would think is the perfect life. And then when we needed to tick the next box in the list of expected things, it just didn't happen. And so for me, that I was used to achieving everything that I thought it was my plan and my life, the formula, right? The formula is like you go to school and then you have a partner and then you go to uni and you have a job and then a good job, a better job, and then a partner, get married, have kids, a dog, a house, travel, whatever. You keep doing and doing that thing for the rest of your life. For most of us, that's the formula, right? And we try to stick to the formula, and then something is off. Like in my case, is like, whoa, what happened? My reality just starts to collapse because it's not what you expected that it was going to happen. In my case, it was fertility issues linked to hormonal imbalances in my body. Some others, it could be the loss of someone that you love deeply, a divorce, you move countries or cities, you lost a job, it could be an accident, it could be anything really. It's usually related to trauma in any way. Some people have what is called a spontaneous awakening. It's just something happened from like a few days and you suddenly like see life with different eyes. For most of people, it's a gradual thing. It's almost like you start to awaken to different little things, different realizations about your family, about your partner, about your life, about this thing that you used to love doing, and then suddenly you just don't do it anymore. The first thing your mind will say, what are you doing? Keep doing it. You always loved it. What are you doing? But then your body is like rejecting it, and you find yourself that is like, I don't want to do it anymore. What's wrong with me? And you push it, you just keep doing it. And that's when you realize that something is changing. I feel different. You start questioning yourself. The mind, as I said, wants to be the driver. The mind, that is something that got programmed since the minute we are born, wants to take over all the time. We live in a world where the mind is praised. The smarter you are, the more science behind is better. If you follow your intuition, if you follow your own knowing, your own wisdom, someone will say to you, but prove it. Show me the data. Where is it? I'm not going to believe you if you don't tell me who said it, what book, what video, where is it? When you talk about your own knowing, people usually look at you like, girl, what are you talking about? What is this energy stuff that you're saying? Because there's not really a proof. It's only now that quantum realm is sort of being explored by science. And at the end of this session, I'm going to send you a few links where you can find really good documentaries about it, if you're interested on that. And yeah, so that's basically what triggered my awakening. Now, something that I wanted to talk about, it's shadow work. I feel like I just have my notes here, and during the awakening, I have like 5, 6 topics. I feel like at some point they are going to sort of like overlap with each other because they're all part of the same thing. But just to jump into it, we know what could be sounds like an awakening. Usually that's really close and intertwined with shadow work. And a lot of people ask, like, what exactly is shadow work? And something that you will probably read somewhere, it's integrating your shadow. A lot of people say, oh, but you have to integrate your shadow to be fully awakened. And you're like, okay, translate that. What is that? What is integrating the shadow? I mean, for a lot of people, shadow is related. I mean, for everyone, right? Shadow is dark, it's scary, it's like a realm that you don't really go there because it's like, I mean, it's a reason why it's dark, right? You don't really want to go there, explore that. The interesting thing is that that's where the hidden emotion, the hidden even secrets, the hidden wounds of the being lies. They're hidden there. It's almost like every time that you experience pain in your life or something uncomfortable, you just open a drawer and you chuck it there and you close it really fast. Or you open, you move your carpet, just put it under there and just close it really fast because you just don't want to see it ever again. It's your shadow. The part that is like, if you're the light, is the other side, the reflection. Something interesting is that when you start working with your shadow and you decide that you want to face it, your fear, your anger, the guilt, all these low vibe emotions that you try to really put it in the drawer and never see it again, sometimes they start coming up in other people, not even in you. And this is the tricky thing. This is really funny because it took me a really long time to get it. And is that many times the work that you need to do in yourself, you're going to see it reflected in someone else. It could be your partner, your mom, your sister, your friend, your boss at work that you're like, oh, this person is so horrible to me. What we miss is that instead of going to the victim mindset, what is this happening to me? It's like, what part of the shadow this situation is showing me that I'm not looking at it? Shadow work could be uncomfortable, confronting, but the interesting thing is that once you face your shadow, you can be the light, you can transmute it, you can integrate it. And that's what I was saying, integrating your shadow is because when you finally say and you surrender to the process and say, okay, I'm here to face my shadow, to see what is in that drawer that for years I was trying to avoid. Because what happened when you finally access that little box? You say, I want more for me. I'm worthy of more. Because many times those tricky things that are in that drawer is everything that is actually holding you back from behind and you don't even notice. It's all the emotions that you don't want to feel, or the feelings that you don't want to even think of, or the limiting belief system that you learn from family, from situation, from school, from work, from your life experience, even from the places you have lived. They will create belief systems. So usually a belief system, if it's very like intertwined with who you are, at the end is holding you back from behind, because when you start awakening, it's almost like this being trying to be something different. But your mind, which is where these thoughts, feelings, emotion, and belief system live, it would tell you, no, girl, you don't want to go there because this is uncomfortable and I don't like that. The mind likes comfort, loves to be in a comfortable place where you know what you're doing, that you know everyone, you know your work, you know your people. This is like super comfortable. And the interesting thing is that many times, if you are too comfortable, It could be a very hard situation that you're facing in your daily basis, but because your mind is so comfortable to this, because it's known, even though it's bad, but you know it, you don't want to step out of the box because you don't know what's outside of the box. You know this box. This is your box. This is like you live there all these years since you were born. This box, block by block, is being constructed around you. All your belief system, everything that makes you be you, everything that was Vanessa or Wendy or Mariana or Star, everyone is in this box. And so when you start questioning your reality, it's almost like something from behind or from outside, actually, not really behind, outside the box, start poking and say, why do you come have a look? And your mind would say, I don't want to go there because that's a no territory and I don't know what's going to find. I don't want to know. The interesting thing is that when you go out of your box, it's almost like they remove your blinds. And then you are accessing all these possibilities, all these new realities that you before you didn't know even existed because you were so comfortable in this box. Something that I forgot to say is that if you have any questions and something pops in your mind, put it in the box, in the message box, and if we have answers and the answer is short, I can address it right now. And if it's longer, we can wait until the Q&A at the end, and then we just expand on those. So yeah, if something comes to mind, because that's the way energy works, and everything and anything that doesn't allow you to think and be open about it, like destroy and create it, right and wrong, good and bad, put and poke, or not show up, puppets and beyond. So everything that comes up, just put it there. There's no right or wrong. This is just a circle, and we are integrating, we are learning, and we're sharing. Okay? So just to finish with this shadow work section of the workshop, is that the shadow work or the shadow of the being is all those emotions that you didn't address through your life. Maybe when you were a child and you know that, oh, this thing happened and that's why I'm like this as an adult. Or, I don't like to dance because someone told me that I'm a terrible dancer when I was 10 years old at my birthday party. And you're like, I'm a bad dancer. And you just stop being your true self. That's something that I myself are rediscovering. I mean, I always thought that I was a good dancer, but I always felt that I was too stiff. And then a few months ago, I started dancing at home, just flowing with the music, not caring about anything. And that's been so healing for me, so liberating. When you start at doing what your soul asks you to do and you just surrender, it's like breaking that chain that has been holding you back from behind for all these years. You access your true nature. And when I talk about nature, I'm not talking about like true like ocean nature, what people think that's the true nature. When I talk about true nature, is your wild energy, that energy before the world took over you. The world told you this is who you have to be to fit in this reality. Because many times we want to do different, we want to do or dress different even, but many times we follow conventions, or we follow, I mean, you can see it even in fashion these days. Someone decides that this is on fashion and then you follow. And this is something, I used to work in the fashion industry, so I know exactly how this works. And if you're interested about my background and all that, that's all in my website in the about page on the blog. In my blog, the Light Journal, I have expanded in consciousness, my own shadow work, my own inner healing, and how I changed my life. So I don't want to talk here because we'll stay for 3 hours, but you can go to the blog session and just expand and read if that resonates with you. The good thing about sharing experiences for the closest people to you is that sometimes you will find out that they are going through the same, but they don't share it because it's strange. We got told that it was weird, that it was something that you just don't know. You keep it to yourself because I don't want to be weird. I don't want to be strange. This is just all not normal. And what is normal in the end? What I was going back to what I was talking about, the trends, is that society tells you the way you have to be and the way you have to act. A very simple way where something is trending. Everyone is doing the same thing because some people decided that that was the way of going ahead. And so another people decided to do it, and another one, and another one. So this individual thought suddenly becomes a belief system. And a belief system happens when a very, very big group of people, a consciousness, thinks the same way. And that's how a belief system happens, right? So when you want to break free of a belief system, it's almost like you feel like you're betraying your own self, because it's like you've been doing this or believing in this for so long. It's what you believe, is who you are as a person. So you want to remove that. It's confronting. You don't feel comfortable about it. Your mom will say things, your parents will say things, your siblings, your friends, maybe they'll judge you. But the thing is that being authentic and living your true nature, you have to be ready that people will comment about it, because you decided to step out of the box. And not many people are ready for that. A lot of people, they just follow the herd mentality because that's comfortable, and the mind is running at the front. Like I said at the beginning, your conscious mind, your consciousness goes behind it. For you to access that consciousness, you have to bypass your thinking mind and reconnect with your body, reconnect with your true nature, reconnect to who you are in essence. Okay, I'm just going to drink some water. Now, when you start doing the shadow work, there's something that is called the dark night of the soul. That it sounds like a horror movie. It sounds a bit dramatic. That's just the name it was given. And that's basically where you stage in your life that you just feel really, really depressed or anxious. Sometimes it's not even that you are depressed physically. It just feels like you are depressed. That's why it's called the dark night of the soul, because it's all darkness and you don't want to do the same thing that you used to do. Or you feel that you go to the places, but after 2 hours, you're like, I'm bored. What am I doing here? I want to go home and take a bath, for example. The dark night of the soul can be triggered for something that happened to you. And is usually hand in hand with the shadow work. The dark night of the soul can last a really long time. If you decide to face your fears, to do shadow work, to me, my personal opinion, because this is what happened to me, it could be really short, because you decide to dive deep and say, okay, what's going on in here? Why I'm not the happy, bubbly person that I used to be a month ago? What's going on? Why do I want to be different? What's happening? I mean, this trauma triggers something in me, and is helping me see something that I was not able to see before. So the dark night of the soul can be a process that is almost like runs in the background. You go through your life, is still going to parties and socializing and being with your partner and having your life, going to work, everything. But then when you go home and you're on your mind and you're on your own, you realize that something is just not the way it used to be. Something in me is different, and I don't know what it is. And that's when it's uncomfortable, because the mind, as I said before, runs the show, and the mind is going to say, no, girl, it's so good. You go to the party and you see these people and you do this because that's what you always done. Just forget about other strange thoughts. We don't want that. Leave it on the side. Okay? After that process, something really interesting happened. When you start doing shadow work, when you start developing these questions in your mind, who am I? What am I doing? What I'm doing is really what I want to be doing? Is this like I live, I die, and that's it? I mean, everyone is doing this. Is that it for me, for my life? What if you are not really that? What if there's a consciousness that live in this body and this experiencing life through the body? What is all these things that are happening to you? Bad experiences, good experiences, joy, laughter, abundance, happiness. It's just experiences. When you do shadow work, you start realizing that that person, that it was the victim, that he was saying, this trauma happened to me and destroyed me, and it was so hard. When you start working with that, you realize that the victim is only your mind that is telling you, oh, this is so bad, this happened to you, poor you, this happened, your parent did that to you, the co-worker did that to you. You go into like deep, really big hole, the dark night of the soul. But then if you start facing and questioning your reality little by little, I'm not saying like, okay, tomorrow I start facing my fears. It's not like that. You have to be comfortable with what you're going through. Maybe it's talking to a friend, maybe you in your own work, maybe just looking for workshops or courses or reading books. I remember in my own personal journey, I went crazy with reading books. I was just reading everything and anything that I could find that it was related to neuroscience, that it was related to the thinking mind, consciousness, energy, because something it was triggering me that I needed to know more information about what was happening to me. And to me, it was just finding books. I did some workshops. I discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza. I discovered Matthias De Stefano. I discovered a lot of people that have been doing the work for a really long time. And to me, they were my guides when I was completely confused and didn't know what to do, where to start. The interesting thing is that when you start doing shadow work or you start looking within yourself and trying to discover what's going on with me, it's almost like your consciousness goes like this, start opening. Before, it was always the mind at the front and your consciousness and your true nature were behind. But then when you start questioning your reality, it's almost like you open a window and the consciousness start, rising a little bit. And so you will find yourself that you have these moments of clarity and you're like, oh my God, I understand this. Yes, this is it. And then you just get distracted because something happened, life happened, work happened. And you're like, yeah, I'm going back to my life. And then it will pass weeks or months, even years sometimes. And then suddenly again, you're like maybe doing a meditation. And then it's like clarity. Oh, yes, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I want to stay there. And then you go away. Oh, that happened to me so much. It was crazy. I was so confused for so long because I was like super focused and clear. I knew what was happening. This victim is like, go away. I'm not that anymore. And then a week later, I'm like, I'm the victim again. I'm like suffering and sad. And what happened with the empowered person like a week ago? I'm like in the hole again. But that's part of the process because what is happening is that your ego is dying little by little. And just for the ones that are not familiar with this ego word, usually if you at school, they teach you the psychology of the ego, which is who you are. And, you hear this egocentric. If a person their ego is too big, it's because they feel that they are better than anyone and they're just very important and all that. But in the spiritual world, the ego, it's basically the character that you play in your everyday life. And what I mean about character is that is this person that has many labels and carry roles in society, in your life, and that is your ego. For example, you can write it down if you want, or just think about it. If I ask you, who are you? If you remove all the roles that you have in your life right now. And by roles, I'm telling you, you are maybe a sister, a mom, a best friend, you are a worker, maybe you are a really good worker and you're praised because you're so good at what you do. You have the role of maybe you're a gardener, you love flowers, or you love to give presents to people. Those are the roles that you start creating around yourself. Those roles become who you are. Oh, I'm a person that loves plants. I'm a person that is like the bestie of everyone. That's your role in society. And then if you go another step deeper in that, you find what are the labels, which is like very deep rooted within you, because a label is not so much a role that you're playing, but is the label is basically like someone stamps something in your being. It's like you are the besties of everyone, the person that organizes all of the parties. You are the happy all the time. You are the traveler because you always go to amazing exotic places, or you are the person that is so good at dancing and you always post these videos that are about dancing, or you are, you create expectations because of the labels that you carry. So if you start thinking about the roles that you carry every day in your everyday life, and then the labels that you accepted in your life, and every energy that comes, because that's getting heavy now, everything related to the labels that you carry, every expectation, projection, limitations that carry on that, I destroy and create, right and wrong, good and bad, put and poke, on I show about puppets and beyonds. What are you defending and avoiding when that keeps that in existence? Everything that is, I destroy and create, right and wrong, good and bad, put and poke, on I show about puppets and beyonds. And why do I use the word defending and accepting? Because sometimes your labels are so deeply rooted that you will do everything to prove that reality. You will do everything that you can do in your life to say, yes, you see, I am that person. I have that label. I have that role. So you will be defending and proving your own mind to say, yes, this is who you are. This is your ego. Okay. So when you go through your life, you basically are telling yourself the whole time, remember, this is you because this is what you do. This is what is expected from you. It's expected from your parents, expect this from you, or your friend, or yourself. Myself, I had so many expectations of myself. I was such a perfectionist because of the type of work that I used to do, and because I was just raised to achieve things in my life. When I was about 12 years ago, I moved from Peru. I was born in Peru and I moved to Australia because I wanted to achieve more. In Peru, I already had a good job, but I just wanted more. I wanted to improve my English. I wanted to do a master's degree. I wanted to live in a place that it was different from Peru, because for the ones that are familiar, in South America, there's a lot of belief systems and there are a lot of stuff related to religion. When I was about 22 years old, I decided to stop being Christian and Catholic. I told my mom, she goes to mass and all that. And we used to have so many arguments because I was trying to prove my point of view, that this is my reality. This is what I'm choosing. And because I was stepping out of the box, she started questioning me and she started judging me. And I started judging myself because I was choosing different. But then I left, I moved overseas, 12 years passed, my life changed. And then almost 3 years ago, I moved to New York, which again, different belief systems. Probably the person that lived in Australia for 12 years is not the same person that I'm now. Why? Because New York has different belief systems. The people that I have met here, they believe in different things. They are maybe more open-minded, or maybe they believe in different things that people in Sydney or in Peru don't. When I was 15 years old, I moved to Brazil for 3 years. My dad got transferred there, and I was 15, my sister was 9, my little brother was 1 year old. And I remember when I was doing my own shadow work, I used to go to my parents a lot to have conversations that they were really hard. And it took me a really long time. I was doing therapy during that time to be able to do it and open the communication, because, sometimes with family, you have this relationship, but then you don't really go deep unless that you are lucky one that you had that relationship with your parents, and that's amazing. I didn't. So I had to open that channel of communication. And at first, it was really uncomfortable. And I was like, I just couldn't do it. Just, even for my parents, it was hard. But then eventually it became an open channel of communication. And I started asking them questions. And I remember at some point during my own journey, my mom came to me and said, Vanessa, I don't understand why you like to work with these sad things. Why you like to explore, when you were a kid, that this happened to you, and when you were a teenager and that happened to you. It's like, because I didn't have much memory of some events, but I wanted to ask my parents and I said, remember this happened to me? I want to know more about it. So my mom came to me and said, why? This is like stuff that I don't want to think about. And I said to her, it's not about you. It's not about you did. What you did, it was the best you could have done for me and for our family. Me as an adult, I'm choosing to go back to my childhood or my teenage years because I want to know more about myself. And the only way for me to find my true nature is to facing those moments that they were uncomfortable for me. And so eventually she understood, but it was not easy because I used to ask her as well, did you ever have like a open conversation with your mom? And she said, no, because back then, my mom was born in the 50s and they were just not used to talking to the parents. It was like parents are here and the children are there and then you just go with your life and you do what the parents tell you to do. You don't question them. I feel like our generation right now, that's changing because it's more like we're trying to open the communication channel. And if you haven't done it, I encourage to do that if you can, you feel comfortable, because that's the only way you can understand your parents or your siblings, because you don't, it's almost like you remove the roles. This is my brother and this is my sister. This is the way they are, because they, again, they carry labels and roles that they build around them to fit in this reality. We build these characters, the ego, because we want to fit in. Okay, so that takes me to the next part, that is the ego death. Another name that is so traumatic, right? I feel like all these spiritual things, like they have created a name that people actually don't want to do it. So the ego death is when you start fighting with your own new reality. So we spoke that this is your mind and this is your conscious mind, right? So when the consciousness start going through, there's a beautiful quote from Rumi. I don't know if you know. his work, but it's amazing. And he said, it's through the wounds that the light find you. And it's totally truth, because only when you face your fear, your darkness, is that you find your consciousness and you find your light and you find your true nature. So when the consciousness start, you start seeing it, oh my God, I feel more aware, I'm more conscious. And then suddenly you go back to the mind. No. Forget about that. This is what I do. This is what I do. Keep living, keep living. And then again, you go back and I'm like, no, I know this is what I want to do. It's calling me. I'm like, I want to go. I want to be that new person, this new being, which is actually not a new being. It's actually your true self that is reaching out. And so when the ego dies, is that fight between the old self and the new self. This separation, the duality of life, because we live in a world of duality, black and white, left and right, up and down, female and masculine. We will talk about this more when we talk about the body and the energy in another workshop, but we live in a world of duality. The interesting thing about duality is that it's made of poles. If you think about it, for example, hate and love, it's a world of duality. But where, if you go in love, you start moving towards hate, at what point it becomes hate? At what point it becomes love? That depends on my point of view. That depends on your point of view. You might be living unconscious and like unconditional love, and that's your type of love. If that's not unconditional love, so there's no love. Some other people have different belief systems and they will believe in like a love-hate relationship because that's what they are used to. So you see what I mean is like this separation that we create is where it's uncomfortable. Why? Because for me, it's here. For you, it's there. For that other person, it's right there. It's a completely different point of view, which is something that we are actually seeing in the other side of the world, that is so much suffering because of point of views, right? Drinking some water. So basically, when you let your ego die, finally, it's like this new being coming up. It's this new being that is, it almost feels like you're seeing the world with different eyes. You feel that there's more colors, there's more possibilities. There's like, when you thought it was a limited box, now it's like a range of colors, of possibilities. When before your mind, your victim mindset went down in the hole and said, oh no, this is the only way, there's no other way. And then you start saying like, wait a second, what else is possible? And this is the tools of access consciousness that I'm going to be talking about in the energy session. Because access consciousness is literally allows you to access your consciousness with a lot of different tools and techniques and processes. When you start asking what else is possible, how can this be amazing and better for me? What energy, what consciousness can I be to create this reality right now? So you're creating a new reality for you, because you're not letting your mind go through the same recorded story in your past. Because what happened is, like, when you ask a question, for example, oh, I want to know about energy. Oh, but that's a bit strange. I would ask you, who said it was strange? Is that your belief system? Or was that your friend belief system? Or your family? When did you decide that that was something that you needed to believe? Was that you believe in it? Or is it someone else that told you to do it? When you start questioning all these things, is where your ego is collapsing. And a new person that believes in energy, that believes in consciousness, that believes in possibilities, is like, okay, maybe this is something that I could be. and you start releasing that old self that it was holding you back for so many years. Because before you thought, this is the way I'm going to be forever. There's no other way. Now, this is the fun part. How do you unleash your consciousness? You can take classes and go to sessions and go to workshops and follow rules of what to do. But the funny thing is that you can know all the theory that you want, but you have to do it yourself. You have to practice it yourself. You have to embody what you read in a book. I remember that happened to me. For ages, I was reading books. I knew the theory, but I was not able to do it on me because I was afraid. I was like, I don't want to face my fears. That's painful. I want to forget it. I don't want to see it. That's a part of my life. It was hard. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go back to your childhood that it was hard. If you are able to bypass that, imagine the possibilities that you can find. When you access your true nature and your true consciousness, it's almost like the universe or God or source or whatever you call it. It's almost like you have like a light bulb here, and then you will start seeing synchronicities. You will start seeing amazing situation that the timing is perfect. You meet the right person, you go to the right place, you just cross path with someone that taught you something, or they gave you the contact of someone else, and then suddenly you're like meeting all these new people and this something happen again. And when you stop and you think, how did that even happen? What did I do? I mean, that's a stream of consciousness right there, manifesting in front of your eyes. Most of the time, people think just that's just a coincidence. It's like, oh my God, that was crazy that we met right that day. But if you really zoom out and you see the big picture and the big plan, it's almost like it's orchestrated to perfection for you to meet that person at that time, at that day. We are billions of people. And the fact that you are hearing this information and you've seen these faces on the other side of the world, it's something. You never know what that connection or that reconnection can bring to your life. It can transform you. And that's the power of consciousness, being open to possibilities. If you want, some people go ahead and start learning. That happened to me. I started learning Reiki. This is like 10 years ago, because I didn't know what to do. I could feel this calling of like energy. I could feel that I was quite intuitive and I was having all these crazy dreams and sort of like a guidance. And then suddenly I was at work, and in 1 week, 2 people told me that they were Reiki masters. Random people at work. It was like a designer and a producer. And I was like, this is a sign, because you start perceiving those little things. It's like you start perceiving that, okay, someone said that thing, noted. And then 2 days later, you read it and it's like, oh, I saw that again. Okay, this is something. The more aware you become, the more you tune in into these whispers of the universe. A lot of people think that when you have a stream of consciousness, it's going to be like a sign this big in front of you, saying, you have to do this. But it's not. It's almost like crumbs on the floor. Like, oh, today I found this tiny little one. 2 days later, a week later, it's like, there's another one over there too. And over time, you start putting them together. And then you realize the plan. You're like, oh my God, 6 months ago, I was in that position. 6 months later, I'm here. I'm like, what happened? What did I do? I don't know. When I remember my therapist one time told me, when you see your life day by day, you don't see the changes. It's like when you have a child next to you, you don't see when they grow. But if you notice every 3 months, what happened 3 months ago? And then you realize, wow, I have changed. I have evolved. I have achieved this. So I always tell my clients, don't think of the day by day. Think about a month or 3 months if you can. 12 weeks is great because you can actually see how things evolve, who you are becoming. That's self-discovery if you choose to do it, to follow your awakening process, and you want to see what's light underneath all your belief systems. It's like a quest, like an investigation almost, because you start deconstructing your being, your ego, this role, this person that you always been, to try to be something different. Or not to try to be something different, but just to listen to your own consciousness. Consciousness is very interesting because the more you practice consciousness, and we'll be talking about it in the body session, is week 3, it's very subtle. The energy is very like a whisper, it's very light, because consciousness is there, is within you. The problem is like the voice is like tiny, so you can't hear it. That's the problem. The mind is always loud, it's always like on your face. It's like exhausting sometimes. If you have ever had a mind chatter and you wanted to meditate and your mind does not stop, that's exactly what the mind is. Can never stop, because that's their job. The job is to always think. The problem is that when you let all your life go, follow this thinking, that wheel that never stop, because when if you have an issue or a problem, what do you think you're going to be thinking about? What do you think when you are meditating? What is that coming up in your mind? The issue, the problem. You can't stop it. So when you start working with that and you decide to see the thought but avoid the thinking, that's where you can start aligning with consciousness. And instead of thinking, you start feeling and perceiving. You follow your awareness. And the more aware you are, the more conscious you become, and the more present you become. Because when you are conscious, you're not letting your mind drive your life. It will be a moment in your life that you can actually identify when your mind is trying to drive you. And sometimes you let it, it's like, yeah, life, that's fine. But you are able to just say, hang on a minute, go away, this is not for you. So you don't let this chatter to drive your life. Something really interesting about all this work and all this awakening is the inner child and the inner teen. I don't know if you guys have ever questioned that or what that even means. But something I think I read it somewhere not long ago, or maybe a video on YouTube. And some neuroscientists said that the brain and the mind that we have right now, it doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50 years old, is the same mind that it was programmed from the 0 age to 7 years old. So on those 7 years of your life, the program that your family, your culture, your country, your school friends, everyone, and everything that you experience, it got programmed, imprinted in your brain, in your mind. So we actually are adults that, if you don't go back to your inner child and look at those wounds and those feelings and emotions and thought patterns, you're actually start driving your life with whatever got programmed in the first 7 years of your life. To me, that was incredible, because when you are even 7 years old, you are not in control of anything. You do what your parents tell you to do. You go to the places they'll take you. You don't really have, a big saying. So you basically get indoctrinated with your environment. What you saw, what you heard, what you lived and experienced, imprinted is like stamps that go in your mind, and it just keeps stamping and experiences. Because what we do right now as adults is that when something new happens to us, what the mind does, it goes to the hard drive that was imprinted, a program years and years ago, and tries to match this current experience with an experience in the past. And so it will probably decide that, it's probably this is what is going to happen, because that happened in the past. And so this is what's going to happen in the future. And it's just like, this is it. So what will happen when you start doing inner child and inner teen work is that you will go back to those instances when your mind got programmed. And then we just say, okay, what happened here? Why do I have this rooted belief system that is not allowing me to go forward? What happened in my life that I just don't know why I'm act this way, or I don't know why I have this fear, or I'm scared of doing this thing. Something is holding me back. And then many times, if you go and look at your inner child, it's something that happened when you were only a kid. Sometimes it's like 0 to 2 years old. If you have ever done hypnosis, I really recommend it. It's amazing to clear things that happened back then. If you go to your teen years, especially for women, they are so important because there's so many changes that happen in our mind, in our bodies. We had our cycles. If you had a family that embraced the love and the abundance and the nature of being a woman and have your moon, it's incredible. But a lot of people is the other way. It's like they give you, something to wear and forget about it. They don't embrace it. They don't talk about it. It's dirty, it's yucky, it's painful. So all those things, what they do to a 11, 12, 13-year-old little girl is telling her, okay, this is dirty, noted. Okay, I don't talk about it, noted. Okay. So you keep programming your mind to believe that. And then when you are older, you are an adult, and you're trying to work with your own feminine energy, and you want to unleash your wild woman archetype, you're like, I can't do it. I can't dance. I can move my hips. I can't do this movement, and you don't know why. And it's there where you start looking at your belief systems and say, okay, what is being a woman means to me? What is related? What is hidden behind my belief systems? That is the beauty of working with the teen and the child. A lot of people think that, that was so long ago. I'm a new person. I change. The interesting thing that energetically, they are never gone. They're just integrated within you. When you start facing your shadow and you work with yourself and your own energy and your own consciousness, you will see that even today, there will be moments that your inner child is thriving. You will have practices that right now you let your inner child play and dance and do whatever they want. Some adults, they think, I don't do this, it's too childish. Because they think that because they're an adult, they cannot touch into the inner child, or because they are too old, they cannot be wild like a teenager. And that's not true. This is just something that society or the patriarchy have told us, that we need to be this way. And when we are adults, we become serious and we become structured, and life is our routine, and this is the way we do, and we don't dance and we don't smile, and we are not silly anymore. What would happen if you start honoring that inner child? When you start honoring your teen, and you tell that energy, you are welcome here every time that you want, and I will honor you because you are part of me. The fact that we look different, we are not little anymore, the face have changed, the body have changed, that doesn't mean that they are not with us all the time. I think that we're almost on time. And I wanted to know if you guys have any questions or any comments. Any question about any parts of this chat about energetic facilitations or what is shadow work? Do you think that you're going through an awakening? There's a lot of people that don't even know that they are going through one because people think that it's this mystic experience that is like something amazing is going to happen to you and you're going to suddenly be awakened. And it's not. I mean, sometimes people think so much in this awakening, and it's like this meditation that I went into trance and I felt this, and I went to a different dimension or something crazy. And then you go back to your life, and it's like, well, life is the normal. Okay, nothing happened. So I don't think I'm awake. What happened? And it's not. Sometimes it's so relative and so, in stages that you don't even realize. And suddenly one day you're like, wow, this is not the way I used to think. I'm so more open. Didn't know about the dark night bit. I think I'm going through that now. Okay. Someone is asking about the dark night of the soul. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't know about these names or these stages. I feel like I have a blog that it talks about my own process, and I put like these stages that I went through. Let me know if you want to have access, or you're welcome to go to the blog and just explore. But as I said, all these topics are intertwined with each other. It's not like this happened first and that is second and then that one. It's almost like it's wave. They're waves. They go here and then you perfect and you go down again and you high again, and it's like, and then you're like, oh, life is right. I feel like this is it. I passed the wave. I'm good. And then suddenly it's like, oh no, again starts again, and then something new, another mirror. You meet someone and it feels like a reflection. The interesting thing is that a lot of people complain, and some of my clients say, oh, I keep repeating this pattern. I keep meeting the same type of people. I keep living this wheel that I don't know why it's not stopping. And it's because there's a lesson there that you probably need to learn and you haven't yet. And so life, if it's part of your contract, your soul contract, they will repeat it 1, 2, 3, 10 times until finally you learn what you had to learn for that specific purpose, for your inner growth and your evolution. Someone is saying I had different stages of my life where I had stages of my ego death. It's true. It can be such a gradual process of highs and lows. Yeah. I feel like I feel you totally, because I feel like that happened to me. And for a long time, I was like, it finished. I feel great. This is it. And then something else happened, or something triggered my moment of sadness. And I'm like down again. The interesting thing though is that you it's like a muscle. When you start working on something, your muscle, your consciousness muscle actually becomes stronger and stronger. So when something happens to you, it's almost like you recover faster. You don't go so deep in the hole like before. It's like, oh yeah, oof, that hurt. But then you like back up again. That's why it's almost like your muscle is like being trained. It's like intuition. Consciousness and intuition, they go hand in hand. There's a lot of people that are very intuitive. but they don't believe in it because your mind goes in front and says, oh, no, 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 that was just strange. That just didn't happen. And then you just shut yourself off completely. You're like, okay, that was a coincidence. And then some other time you have this stream of consciousness that you say something to your friend or you perceive something. And then again, your mind is like, no, girl, that's a bit weird. You don't want to go there. Those are streams of consciousness that is giving you lights here and there. It's like tiny little fairy lights here and there and there. It's up to you. You want to investigate and you're like, that was interesting. What happened there? I really want to know more. I want to investigate. What am I capable of? Something that happened to me is that I started doing meditations and I found Joe Dispenza and his meditations. You can go into trance because they're really long. And I was having these incredible meditation sessions. And I was, I was high and like, yeah, I'm powerful and I'm empowered and I can do this and that. But then once the high goes down, you're like, I'm back into my real life. My consciousness is not here with me. That was just the meditation. Instead, you can see like, no, this is you and you are capable of doing that. The problem is that we don't believe it because it's strange. You don't want to talk about it. Who are you going to talk about it with? Some people are going to look at you like, what are you doing? What is that? It's really hard to find a circle of people that are going through similar stages or that happened to that person before you. So you can hear guidance or just hear like, yeah, that happened to me. It's okay. You can talk to me. I will think you're crazy. I have this group of friends and we met in not long ago and it was amazing because we can talk about all our crazy stories and we all just jump in the conversation and we want to know more and more and more. There's no judgment because the first step is to get rid of in your mind is self-judgment, because when you start changing, the first flag is like judgment towards yourself because you say, this is not the way I was. What has happened to me? Go back to your normal self. That's judgment to yourself, to your own person. So everything that brings up and lays down, I destroy and create, right, wrong, good and bad, put and poke on the show of what's and beyonds. Every energy, space, consciousness and choice, magic, miracle, and possibilities that this session is going to give you abundance and it will be a contribution to you. Let's allow that energy to flow, right, wrong, good and bad, put and poke on the show of what's and beyonds. I just did that because it just felt like the energy was rising. And we want to clear that. We don't want heavy energy. We want people to feel inviting. You want to tap into the possibilities of consciousness, into the possibilities of expansion. That is the beauty of access your consciousness or unleash the being that lives within you, your true nature. But we are just so busy with this life that we have that we just get so distracted. There's another quote that says, when you silence your mind, your soul speaks. Because your soul is only whispers. Your soul is not loud. Your consciousness is crumbs around you. So if you want to access that, the first step, it will be to silence your mind little by little. As I said, it's a muscle that you keep practicing. It's like some client of mine say, I can't meditate. I put like a 15-minute meditation and I'm like, after 3 minutes, I'm out thinking about work. And I say, how long have you been meditating? Oh, I just started 2 weeks ago that my therapist suggested. It's like, you can't do that. We didn't learn to write in a session in 5 days. It took us years to be good at it. Took us years to be able to just make it second nature. So I don't understand when people think that as an adult, you want to accomplish meditation in a week or in a retreat. this is a practice. It's like going to the gym as well. You don't expect changes after a month. You have to be consistent. Same with meditation, where you work with your mind. Your mind is strong. As I said at the very beginning, your mind is insane. It wants to drive you. So you're not going to be able to change it from one day to another one. You have to do it gradually, little by little. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes is your top. And then maybe one day you say, I'm going to go with 15 to see what happens. Some people can do an hour, 45 minutes, and it's amazing experiences, but it takes time. Remember that self-judgment is the first thing that you need to remove from your mind. But that doesn't contribute to you, to your expansion. We are, before we were bodies, we are pure light in the quantum, living and experiencing life through a body that is an avatar, right? All right. Do you guys have any other question or comment? Do you like me to send you information about what is this access consciousness clearing statement or something like that? Oh, awesome, awesome. There's a question that says, what's the best way to start doing shadow work? Meditating, yes. I feel like it's very personal. What worked for me might not work for you. If someone tells you, oh, I did this and that and that, and then you try to follow those steps, might work for you, might not. But what I think you need to do is just follow the signs. Sometimes is curiosity. That was in my case. I'm a very curious person anyway. When I discover something that triggers my curiosity, I just go deep. And that's why I went into this consciousness world and I learned to the Reiki and I kept studying and I became a facilitator in access consciousness because I just saw the potential and I just went through that rabbit hole. So for you, in your case, I would say that just follow what you think is calling you. Because, you know, some people will say Reiki session and it's not doing anything for you. You're like, eh. And then someone will say Akashic record reading and you're like, oh, what is that? I want to know more. That is already a sign. I remember when I found out about access consciousness, I was on my phone, and then one of the girls that I follow, she started asking all these random questions like I did today. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. And then I messaged her and she said, you need to learn in this way. She gave me the website. I went online and I realized that it's been around since the 90s. And there are so many facilitators, even in Australia and in Peru. And I never knew about it. And what that told me is that I was not ready to receive the information. I received the information when I was ready to absorb it. One of my best friends in Peru, when I learned, I became a facilitator. I told her the information and she received. I even did some sessions with her. I gave her some facilitation and that was it. She knew about it, but that was it. Only this year, like 3 or 4 months ago, that she decided to take a class and then she took another one. And now she's like loving it and she's really full on it and really embracing it and transforming and doing her own inner work. 3 years ago, when I told her about it, she was not ready. That's why she didn't do anything about it. Now her being is ready. It's like when you buy a book. I that's another thing that I do a lot. I buy lots of books. It takes me forever to read them. And sometimes I have books that I've been there for like a year. And I just follow my intuition. I just say, what am I going to read now? And to me, there are signs because when I read a book and then my life is just like, man, you sent me this book for a reason. And this is perfect timing. So if you think that meditation sorry, this is a bit of a long answer, but if you think this is meditation, is your starting point, try doing it on mindfulness. That is simpler than meditation. Sometimes meditation can be hard for some. I will follow your own knowing, your curiosity, what's trigger you. If you see different modalities of energy and there's something that it pops up, that's probably the sign that is like, that's what I want to try first. About access clearing statement, yes, I can send you a link of what is it was created by with Gary Douglas, and the co-creator of Access Consciousness, Dr. Dane Hare. He has a YouTube video where he explains what is the clearing statement and what is it for. So I will share that in the WhatsApp group. And about facilitation, this is something that personally I facilitate myself all the time, because even working in consciousness, I've been doing it for a few years now. Sometimes this belief system come to mind and I catch myself and then I clear it. I clear the energy because I know that that's my mind. I know that that's my past or my story or my victim mindset trying to come back. It's good that now I'm working that long enough that I identify it and I can talk about it. A few years ago, this is like 5-6 years ago, when I was in my fertility journey with my husband, I could not talk about it. I actually was hiding it. It was like my drawer, the drawer that we spoke at the beginning, under the carpet in the drawer. That was it, because it was too painful. I didn't work with it. Later, years later, this is like 6 years ago. Now I work on that. I have worked on that. I'm comfortable sharing it. And it's something that I do share with my clients, because I tell them, this is what happened and this is who you can be. Everyone can do it. It's accessible to everyone if you give yourself a chance to find your true self. I noticed that we are 3 minutes past our time. So if you don't have any other question, if you want to finish, you're welcome to say goodbye. And I really appreciate your time and listening to this first workshop. And how does it get any better than this? This is part of Access Consciousness as well. One of the opening questions, bringing energy to the circle. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording.